Hello and welcome to your third day of this amazing challenge. Who am I really? So let's go over the last couple days. The summary of what we've done so far. You were on day one. We talked a lot about the information that growing up, who you were, who was an influence in your life, things like that. That's very profound to understand who you are. And so that's one reason why it's included in the challenge. On day two, we went through about questions that we went over were about you, things like your work, things that people never think about, like how many hours a week do I want to work? Is that even possible to make what I want and work a specific amount of hours? How many play hours are there? We're going to get into that. Lori, should we get into that at the end, or because I have some things, should I just talk about it now really quick?
Yeah, let's do it while we're on the topic.
Okay, great. So about your work week, that is specifically whatever you want. Lori and I, some days have, or some weeks we'll have 40-hour weeks, some days we'll have 50, and some days we'll have 20. It simply depends on what projects we're working on, and everything is about our own self-growth and how we do it. So what you have a choice here to create what you want. If you are in a space of working a 40-hour week for someone else, this is your opportunity, right, to get in alignment with that and feel good about that, or create something different, or create something different down the road. But it's a space opening to who you are. Now, my next favorite question that we asked is, how much time do you need, or should you give yourself every day to play? That kind of conversation. I believe, and I've heard it from several other coaches, that you give every hour of work to yourself as well. Now, remember, it doesn't mean that you have to paint for 8 hours or you have to do this, but it does mean that you're self-reflective, that you're gentle, that you're loving. Because every time we go into the space about us, remember, it is about us. And this is the way in which we move through our life and our spaces, is by recognizing that we are so valuable that we get to create our life in any way that we want, whether it's working 10 hours a week or 50 hours a week, or painting for a career and it also fills your soul, or being a writer and having your first or 10th book out there. Whatever it is, you must do what your soul is calling you to do. So this helps you open up to the awarenesses of who you are, the emotional intelligence, and actually, as Lori and I love to talk about too, it brings you to your soul-fueled life.
Yeah. And I love, as we talk about it in our work with people, always trying to convince them that not only are they worth living the life that's calling them, the life that they really want, not only are they worth it, but when you're paying attention to that, when you're following your bliss, as we sometimes say in the famous words of Joseph Campbell, you are doing exactly what you need to be doing. Your flow is there. So that 10 hours, if 10 hours is what is calling you, and you say, God, that really feels right for me, then that means when you're doing that and following that path, that those 10 hours are lit up, they're electric, you are on fire in those 10 hours, doing exactly what you want to be doing, what you need to be creating. And when we don't listen to ourselves, by contrast, right, we may think, oh, but only people who work really hard, only people who work 80 hours a week, that's how we get successful, is by working like that, right? That's the definition of someone who's not only worthy, but that's what it takes in this world to be successful. And that may be right for you if your authentic self says, yes, I love that this is where I belong, is this in this 80 hours. Fine. But for most of us, that's not the case. And when we let go of that old story, right, the civic self says you must put in all of this time, you have to work, you know, only the people who are totally dedicated and don't have a life outside of their career, only those people are successful. I used to be in that boat. And it's crazy to see we don't achieve anything through push and struggle. And isn't that crazy to think about? Because your whole life, I guarantee you, you have been taught no pain, no gain, push harder, you know, go hard or go home. That's how you achieve things. But knowing where to push, knowing how to be responsible, yes, and dedicated and committed to your mission, to your goal, but at the same time doing it in the way that your authentic self tells you. Because when you find that flow and alignment, that means living authentically, you are unstoppable, and you are unstoppable in ways that your push and struggle in your hours could never achieve. And so it's the perfect example of what we're trying to get to for each one of you, which is old messaging from the world, right? Whatever that looks like, parents, siblings, teachers, church, mass media, blah, 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 says push and struggle. That's the only way to get ahead, right? But you get to ask your authentic self, is that true? And your authentic self is going to tell you, no, it looks like this. And that doesn't mean we don't have times when we're, you know, just giving our all to something. But it's in a flow state, as opposed to, you know, this push and struggle and grind, right? The grind will never get you anywhere. Right. And so when we open up to the messages of the authentic self and being in our flow, that's when we're unstoppable. Right. So I love that we brought this up as, you know, just one way that we can show you the difference from living civically and living authentically. And it is so much better over here, right, in the authentic world. So, you know, we've been exploring this concept, right, of authentic and civic self. This is a great example of how it can play out in your life. So today we want to turn your attention to what are some of the tools that you can use to really get in that space, to be hearing from the authentic self, right? If you've got all the messages from the old self saying, hustle, grind, you know, if you are enjoying yourself, oh, then that probably means you're not doing the things that you need to do to be successful, right? So how do we start to hear the messages of the authentic self so that we can even be aware of what they are? And then, of course, the next challenge after that is, okay, how do I implement it in my life? How do I make that my way of being? So today we want to give you a tool. There's so many, and we teach so many, and we're always helping individuals that are in our program refine their specific methods and tools and skills, because since we're all different, it's not a one size fits all. That's one of the reasons why we don't do programs and then say, okay, here's your program, go, good luck, hope that goes well, right? We always have support that goes with it, because we want to help you get those nuances out of the skills and tools that we give you. We want to help you really create the most effective, efficient, and quickest way to get to where you're going. So as you're thinking about the exercise that we're going to give you today, that will open you up more to be able to hear from your authentic self, just know that there are so many beautiful practices that we have for you and can share with you that will help you get to this version, because that authentic version is the version that you want to be running your life, right? That's the version of you that feels safe and secure in the world, that feels confident, that has clarity about what you want, and knows the exact steps that you can take to get yourself there. So let's really dive in today to one of many tools that we have for helping you create the space for your authentic self to come in and be heard and be with you. Mia, what is the tool that we want to give them today for working with the authentic self?
We want to talk about practice of getting still. And before we do that, Lori always sets my mind on fire. One reason why I love her. One of the things about I almost said bump and grind. One of the things about the grind with the work, or even the struggle, is it doesn't have to be. It's about
Yeah.
this. And that's what this is going to teach you, is how to focus so that you can create the exact experience that you want. And remember, when you're working on your stuff, you're focused. When you are not working on your stuff, you can still be focused on creation of it. And you'll learn that through the work that we share through the Academy. Okay.
Yeah. And one thing, as we're talking about, I just want to wrap this part up that we've been talking about. I want everyone to try on the truth and see what their authentic self has to say about this right here. Okay. Success, making money. It doesn't happen through the grind and the hustle. It can happen in a moment, in a flash of inspiration. If you think the only way to be successful and meet and we're talking today, we're talking about monetary goals, but they apply to relationship goals and to just creating, those meaningful, purpose-filled projects in our life as well, and our spirituality and just our sense of well-being. So whatever it is, that does not happen. It is not created in the moments of push and grind and struggle. It is literally in a flash, in a second, a moment of inspiration where it all can be created. And so you may say to yourself, that sounds really great, but I have no idea how to get in that moment, how to produce that moment for myself. And that's really one of the things that the Greatest You Academy is all about. It's about how to harness that energy, that creativity, that inspiration that is always inside you. How do I access that so that I can create the life that I want without the hustle and the grind? So again, this is one practice of hundreds, really, that we bring in. Yeah.
And in the moment, it's actually, so being raised metaphysically and having multiple healings and being a healer, guess what? Everything in your life is a healing. Everything that's instantaneous that takes you to the next level or to heal through is a healing. Money and not having it and then having it is a healing. Love, not having it and having it is a healing. Your deepest desire, shift and change is a healing. So change equals healing, which equals everything that is positive that you're creating. Share that, because it doesn't have to take, like as Lori's saying, in a moment, instantaneously creation comes into being. So know that, and think about those words too. What is in a moment? What is instantaneous? We're not talking about getting all freaked out. We're talking about the ease of it. So let's get into the practice of getting still. Did you want to say anything else, honey, before?
Oh, so much, so much, because this is really what I think one of the beautiful gifts that people can receive from this information is just that belief, and to be able to, kind of like Atlas Shrugged, with the weight of the world on our shoulder, take it off, set it down, and know that that is who you are as a beautiful creator. No more. You don't need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulder.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah.
Okay,
so let's talk about getting still.
Yeah. Okay. We love this. So we're excited about this. This is the general idea for your integration today. It's included here so that you can use your own words to describe what you're doing, but please feel free to share it in your own words. We're putting our words in, but you can contemplate and create it where it's easiest for you. Okay, so most likely, sorry, I'm looking with people in here. Most likely, your authentic self has been asked to quiet down a lot over the course of your life. At this point, it's entirely possible that your authentic self or greatest self is huddled up in the corner somewhere, just trying not to get noticed, while your civic self heads out into the world every day to do and achieve what it thinks you ought to do. For this reason, it will take some time to coax your authentic self back to the forefront. Depending on how much time and attention you give it and to your greatest self, it may it may have forgotten your greatest self, who you're becoming, may have forgotten how to effectively communicate with you. This is so beautiful to learn how to talk to yourself gently and have the answers reply. This is why this quiet practice is so important. Most people find that their greatest selves do not talk loudly and may be used typically communication such as music, poetry, art, to express yourself, even breath work and prayer. It's really beautiful. The point is that you can't keep going about your business and expect your long ignored greater self to just pop in and start sharing with you in a way that it is perfectly understood. This takes development. In order to make a comfortable space for your greatest self to come forward and start communicating with you, it's important to carve out some time. You know what? That's the hardest thing, everybody, is the time. So you've got to carve it out literally. And this is during your day, whether it's the morning, the midday, or the evening. You must find the time to
Or all three.
Or all three. Develop a practice where you can do it more regularly. Did you know that the more we do this focus work like this, the faster we get through to the other side? We'll talk about that afterwards if we remember, Lori, about like the 6 week and the 6 months type of progression of the mind, how it shifts and changes.
Yeah.
Brain restoration is getting quiet, or brain resistance, sorry, is
Resistance.
yeah, because our resistance is what we've been working with our inner critic and our saboteur since we were little. Lots of clients say that they don't feel comfortable getting quiet. I used to be that person.
Yep. Me too.
Yeah. And that's just from our trauma, right? We don't want to be alone. We need noise on. We need to be active. We need to be going and not quietly thinking.
Yeah. And I'll just say here, we teach a lot and work with people who do have this resistance, because people coming from, trauma and trauma, as we know now, is how it's defined, is it's just simply any event that was too much for the individual to process in that moment. So there is no list of, these are the experiences that count as traumatic. It is for that individual. Was that something that was just too much for my system to handle in that moment? And that could be something as devastating as being a victim of abuse of any kind. And that can be something as small as, I had a client share with me this week that she came home from school one day, and her parents were running late and they weren't home for 10 minutes. And she was home alone for 10 minutes. And for her, for other kids, they'd be like, yeah, where's the marshmallows, right? For her little soul, it was too much. And it made an indelible impression on her. And she, needed to work through and learn how to process that trauma. So when we find ourselves with the inability to sit and be and tune in, it's very often because of the trauma. That's why all of our work comes from that trauma-informed place. Doing a lot of work and received a lot of certifications and knowledge about how trauma affects the body and how we can work with it. Because so often people come to us and they start trying our tools and they say, it's not working for me, I give up, right? And that's what they've done in the past. Mm-hmm. They've tried other things and they didn't work. But one thing that I'm so grateful that we have is this knowledge about why it can be hard for people to get in and do the work. Why would it be hard? It doesn't make any sense. Just sitting and doing nothing. Why is that so hard? There's a lot of reasons why it might be hard for you. So just know that, okay, you gather that data and you say, oh, this is hard for me. Great. Bring it to us so we can help you see why it's hard, because whatever's making it hard needs to be healed. It needs to be healed not only so that you can do the work, but because it needs to be healed, right?
Yeah. That resistance is what holds us back. And it feels uncomfortable to move forward when we're in that resistance. Why? Yeah. Because we've never experienced moving through resistance successfully. We've never been guided to move that way. Even someone, and I'll use myself as an example, but I would say Lori's the same way. Even someone who has had my own trauma, right, my whole life, and then became a coach and helped thousands of people, I wasn't even able to move through some of the resistance spaces.
Yeah.
I teach this stuff. It was years ago, but still, it was sitting with that feeling, being in my quiet space that allowed me to recognize I wasn't going to be swallowed into the abyss. And then everything shifted and changed. So,
yes, so powerful.
yeah. So getting into your quiet space, if it's not something that you're used to, it's all right. Very often people aren't. Your mind will regard it as dangerous, as scary, like we were just talking about. And there is that big resistant wall there. Most of us are walking around in a low-grade stress response, which means that our brain and bodies are always preparing for a fight or flight. You know what that means, everybody? Think about that. Pause it and think about it, because this is exactly what we're talking about. And once you understand that, you move through it very quickly. It's really beautiful. It is hard to quiet yourself in those moments. The to-do list for the day is longer than your driveway. Your brain will tell you that the most effective use of your time would be to get started on the list and not spend time on your precious self. And I literally mean, as you get through this, you're going to understand how precious this time is for you and how precious you are. So those moments are lost in non-productive nothingness. And then once again, we get mad at ourselves and the cycle begins over and over and over. So let's stop the cycle once and for all. As previously mentioned, your greatest self can't be heard in the busyness of your regular life. Am I pausing here, Lori?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, good, because it keeps glitching on my side.
No, perfect here.
Wonderful. All right. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so creating space for this is a requirement, and this is something beautiful that you can gift yourself. Knowing this may not make it easy to simply sit down and to do nothing. Your first few days of getting still may be a bit of a struggle, and that's okay. And knowing that it's okay is okay, literally. If you can't seem to settle your mind enough to hear from your authentic self at first, you can simply use your quiet time to talk to yourself and to talk to your brain about how this time it's not wasted or not progressive. You can remind your brain over and over again that you are simply developing different, equally important skills during this quiet time. And I want you to know that this is how we shift and change, by talking gently to ourselves. It's not just the self-love, self-devotion work. This is how humanity has to change, because otherwise you don't know this stuff and it won't start setting new synapses and patterns in your brain, and you won't make changes.
Yeah.
So you're developing more flexibility. We're doing an example here. You're developing more flexibility in your thinking and opening to the creative side, becoming more connected and grounded. Taking these important skills, most relaxed state of mind, will help you complete your daily tasks by focusing on the positive benefits of time spent in stillness. You will be able to settle your brain, and it will become more accepting of your quiet time. Don't worry so much about what you're achieving during your quiet time. In the beginning, it's just starting to make the space, and it expands from there. And this quiet time looks like, we call it the listening space, or the listening room, and you get quiet there. And if you've done any of our other stuff, I know that it's in the academy where we talk about in the grounding, where we ping away thoughts that come through for meditation. And so literally you are going to have thousands of thoughts that are coming towards you, and that's okay. And you can tell yourself, you can train yourself, I want to be still right now. I want my brain to absorb and to think. Lori?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the one really big or couple really big important takeaways from this is number one, you have to make this space, right? Because when you're going through life, you are following all your computer program, right? Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how we
Okay.
perfect.
So, hello.
Had that little falling off. That's okay. Technology will do what technology does. So getting
And
back to yeah, well, we were just talking about, that space can be hard. We have to create it, right? But that space can be hard to get into. And so people sometimes will try, oh, I signed up for this meditation program where you do this thing for 25 minutes a day or blah, blah, blah. And I never did it. I never followed through. Right. And that's the case for so many of our people. They come to us saying, I don't know if change is possible. I've tried so many things and it's just not working. So just understand, don't think that for a second that there's anything wrong with you or that you can't do this work. But Mia just wrapped up talking about the brain resistance to it and how hard it can be. So we have incredible research and knowledge around what does it take to get in there, to wiggle in that space, right? And create a step-by-step ladder to where we want to go. So if we want to be people who make space and can create this beautiful meeting space, listening room for our authentic self, if we're down here and we have no ability right now to sit quiet and to relate to ourselves, for us to say, I'm going to start a 45-minute meditation practice every single day, that's like trying to jump 20 feet in the air, right? That is not going to happen. And people keep trying, they get into programs, they sign up for stuff where it's like, okay, this is it. I'm going to push hard. I'm going to do it this time. You're never going to jump 20 feet in the air. So stop trying. You're wasting your time. You're getting nowhere, right? So we help you build your ladder to success, right? So you build a ladder rung by rung, and you get on one rung and you stay there until you're solid on that rung and you're ready to take a next step. So what we're offering you here in this practice to getting quiet is a 5-minute practice, 5 minutes only. Now your brain might say, I didn't get anything out of it because it was only 5 minutes long, or what can I achieve in 5 minutes? That's not worthwhile, right? But if you think about it from the perspective of this ladder that we're building, it's incredibly successful. It's incredibly important. It's like you have a goal to, curl 35 pounds. You're not going to just go pick up the 35 pounds and just sit there and strain with it every day, right? You're going to start with the 5-pound weights, and then you're going to build to the 7-pound, and etc. And that is how you actually get success. And so a lot of our work is spent helping people understand you're here. Here's where you want to go. Let's start building your ladder. So this is our version of this exercise for you that can be that first rung on the ladder. It is 5 minutes, right? So when your brain's like, oh, I got to get to work, got to get started on the day, all these things to do, you can say, look, brain, it's 5 minutes, right? It's not going to be fundamental in the rest of the day. And so we start where that resistance is low. Right. And so we put together 5 steps. You could do each one for a minute, because this is how, with the ease and the simplicity, we can start to wiggle into this space of quiet and tuning in to the internal world. So in your integration work, you've got the steps that we recommend. But if you feel something else tugging at you, or you want to spend all 5 minutes on one of the steps, or you want to, just have a couple of the steps, all of that is great, but we want to make it easy for you. So we're offering you somewhere where you can start, and then you take it and you make it your own. But, the steps are just, you're going to start by getting in touch with the body and getting in alignment through your breath. And if it feels good, we teach in the academy, we have a whole section on somatic experiencing, which is a beautiful modality that helps people regulate their nervous system and get better access to their internal world. So as you're taking their breaths in the first minute, place your hand either on your heart or somewhere else where it feels like you could use a little bit of support. That beautiful, loving touch that you can provide to yourself can elevate your practice so simply, and also start to connect you to your internal experience, your physical sensations, and becoming re-embodied. So yes, it's something very small, but it's a gorgeous start. And then you're going to ask yourself some questions, how do I feel right now? The physical aspects. And, then you can focus on the emotional aspects, right? Because that's what this is all about. What is going on for me? You say to yourself, I'm with myself all day long. What do you mean I don't know myself? So many of us don't have any idea who we are or what is going on for us in any given moment. And then you can ask yourself, spend a minute showing up for yourself, right? What does that mean? People talk about self-love. Oh, it's me getting a massage. It's me giving, and those are great too. But self-love is really getting to know what your needs are and meeting them. So the point here is asking the question, what do I need today? And what do I want? And just being quiet and hearing what that is. It might be something I really want some beauty in my life today. I just want to experience some beauty. And that can look like a bajillion different things. You can buy yourself flowers. You can spend 30 seconds and look up a piece of beautiful art on the internet to just look at it for a second. You can go to your closet and pick something bright and beautiful instead of, something that you were thinking of, and love this bright, beautiful skirt that Allison has today. But that's what it means, getting in touch with what do you need, and then, okay, how can I meet that need, even just a little bit? That's self-care, that's self-love. And then you can set an intention for the day, and that can be looking at different areas of your life. If you just get up and keep following your regular computer program, you're just going to create the same day over and over and over. So setting an intention allows you to get in touch with maybe a new direction or something that just feels important. And setting your intention in the morning, right? You have a bajillion times better chance of meeting it than you do just hoping that something good happens or that you get in alignment. And then the last minute can be spent with an affirmation that is special for you. So when we talk about affirmations, again, I love that we are in these, that we've been practicing for so many years, that we kind of have heard everything that people come to us and tell us. And we've not just said, oh, try it again this way, right? We've really understood and tried to understand, okay, a lot of people say affirmations don't work for them. And so we know the power of them. So rather than saying, oh, something must be wrong with them, they're not doing it right, we really try to answer the question, why? And the reason why is that affirmations, you can think of the affirmations the same as trying to make that 20-foot jump in the air. If your brain is hearing something that is so far from its truth, it doesn't register, it doesn't create a new neural pathway for that new belief. It just registers. It might feel okay in the moment. Yeah, okay, wow, that would be cool. But it doesn't actually create new synapses because it's so far from your current truth. So the way we use affirmations is the way we do everything. We're going to build that ladder up to where we want to be. So when you're using affirmations, if you can find one that resonates with you, but is not so far away from your current belief system, you're going to be able to adopt that affirmation. It's going to become your true belief. So for example, for clarity here, I work with a lot of people who struggle with their relationship with food and wanting to lose weight and, feel light and free in their bodies. And sometimes they will say, well, I've tried the affirmation that my body is perfect the way it is and doesn't need to lose weight. Well, if that is so far from where they truly believe they are, those are just words, right? So bringing that affirmation, or, if we're talking about the ladder, bringing and giving them an affirmation that's the next rung up on their ladder, something like, I'm so excited that I'm found a new way of relating to my body, and that I can make a couple of adjustments to my food this week, and that might have some result for my body. Something simple like that acknowledges where you are, but also where you want to go in a way that is acceptable to the brain. So choosing your affirmation wisely, right? We have so many tools, but we also have the ability to help you understand, if you've tried them in the past, why they may not be working for you and how to make them work for you, right? Because the last thing you want is to spend months and months and months, or years or decades. And that's what a lot of people say too. I've been in therapy for 15 years. And yeah, and that's not to say that there's not a place for therapy, or that people don't have, make positive changes in therapy. But what Mia and I are talking about here today, and talk and teach in our extensive coaching program, the Greatest You Academy, is this is how you use these tools in the most effective way to produce incredible change for yourself, transformation, but do it in an efficient and effective way. This isn't about helping you cope with life. This is about giving you the tools and the strategies to create the life that you want. What a difference that is, right? To go from coping to creating. And that's what the Greatest You Academy is designed for. It is the sole purpose of this program, is to help you see how you can create your life. So again, this practice for today, this integration work, is a very basic practice, but it is that beautiful rung that you can stand on, right? And really get solid on there until you're ready to take the next step up and continue to make that space to hear from your authentic self. Your authentic self may not come in from day to day. You might have, 4 sessions with yourself in a row where you're like, nothing really happened. Something did happen. Trust that by showing up, something did happen. And maybe on that 5th day or that 12th day or whatever, that beautiful flash of inspiration they were talking about, you will get that connection. And once you start getting it more regularly, it becomes a regular thing for you. And it is a very rare morning in my beautiful meeting space that I don't get full access to my authentic self, my greatest self, for at least some portion of that time. So know that you go from someone who literally couldn't sit still for 30 seconds. It was torture. And the only thing I could think about was how I was broken because I couldn't do this, right? To someone I could sit for hours and just be and contemplate and dream and all of these things. So if I can go from one extreme to the other, I know that all of you are capable of creating this beautiful internal space. The biggest problem will be that you'll want more of it.
Which actually feels amazing.
Yes.
It actually does feel amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, beautiful. So remember to practice meeting with your authentic self and seeing how that feels to you and getting used to it and asking yourself questions. If you feel uncomfortable, why do I feel uncomfortable? Another thing that might be fun to add to that is journaling, what you're discovering, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we take it from our brain onto the paper, it becomes real to us. We process it. Everything starts to build again within us.
Yeah, there's a lot of research around this, Mia. Did you, the journaling and how the act of writing, even more than, thinking or talking or typing, there's something that they have studied and identified that when we use our hands with the pen, that we are able to access things that don't come up any other way. And I always say that, I heard it somewhere, but it's so true for me. I don't know what I think about something until I've written about it. And it's, so I've had a lot of people too say, I'm not a journaler. I just don't do that. I don't. And then have them fill up a journal a week, by the end of us working together because they were able to get in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I also wanted to quickly talk about affirmations like Lori was speaking of. I used to not like affirmations. I thought that people were ridiculous with them. So look, here's what you do. An affirmation can become your mantra. And your mantra is just a repeat, right? Or a chant. It's a repeat of what you want to create. Lori was talking about, say, for example, the food thing. I do that sometimes. I talk to my body on repeat as an affirmation. And I say, beautiful body, you can process all of everything that you need to process and metabolize with my food. And then I always recognize afterwards that I'm going down again. So it's about the love and the intention, right? It's not about the abusing herself, right, Lori? It's about
absolutely
the affirmation. And those who So I'm more on the self-love side of the affirmations here, where Lori works on some other stuff. And I've watched people, even friends who are coaches in person, have post-it notes everywhere in their house. Hey, beautiful, on the mirror. Hey, so-and-so. But what I've noticed is, and even by the front door, is that's not deep enough. Why? Because you're not always reading and repeating your affirmations. They can be all over your house. But my point is, until you bring it in here and in here, it doesn't matter. They can just be another wording on a billboard, something that goes into our subconscious, rather than stimulating the mind, building new patterns, new synapses, and also exciting you
Yeah.
to something magical in your life.
Absolutely. The feeling that's behind it is really important. And, you know, the research, we can see how important feeling is to anchoring in and creating new neural pathways when we look at PTSD, right? The feelings that were associated with this event or this thought were so intense that that is so wired in that we can't forget it, that it becomes who we are because the emotions were so intense. And, you know, when we talk about PTSD, unfortunately, those were intense, difficult or negative emotion. But we can do the same thing over here with positive emotion. When we feel something and allow it to excite us and to inspire us, it becomes those neural pathways. It's like, you know, getting, sometimes I'll say that pathway is being built in the same way, like if you were building a highway, it would be like getting all the highway workers from the, you know, 10 states together to make that highway. When we have the strong emotion behind it, the highway gets built like that, right? So yes, attaching that strong positive emotion to our mantras and our feelings and really taking it in, it will wire it. It will create a new neural pathway when it's the right emotion or the right affirmation.
So join us on our Facebook page, which is inside today's email, and write your questions to us or statements or comments about this, about the class. And we put one up every day for you guys to respond on. Do that. Also, what's really cool and important is to book your call with us. I met with a lady today who had a dream of writing a book. She wrote a book. She didn't know it's a children's book. She didn't know how to go forward. She had no idea who Lori and I actually were, and that I even have a micro publishing company. When we went through the process of how she could create that dream through the academy, she was all in. So this is about creating your life the way
it's about dreams coming true, Mia. It's about dreams coming true.
It is.
I want to hear from everybody in the Facebook group. Number one, why are you here? Why did you show up here? Why do you even care about being authentic, right? And also, what is your affirmation that you're creating for yourself that you're going to use for as part of your getting quiet practice? And these two questions, if you don't get anything else out of this challenge, really understanding what it is that you came here for, getting clarity on that, and creating this affirmation, you've gotten something really valuable out of it. So please, get in the Facebook group for yourself, for our community, and so that we can support you and energetically and also, you know, in real time coaching. And we can't wait to talk to more of you. Our spots for the coaching sessions are getting somewhat limited now because of the you know, the sign up so far, but they're open from today until next Wednesday. So I know you can find 30 minutes to set aside for you to entertain how can I meet my dreams? Me. How can I, you know, the life that me and I talk about, you know, people who are achieving these great big things, how can I have that too? Right? That's what the 30 minutes is about, to show you how that can be possible for you. So that link is in the replay email. It's in the Facebook group. We can't wait to spend time with you.
It's thegreatestyoucalendar.com as well. And remember, your dreams are about you. You deserve to have what you've always wanted. Some of my dreams that I've created have gone back to my childhood of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to have. And it's our divine birthright to live our soul's purpose on earth. So let's get busy, everybody, because this is about you and your success.
So beautiful. And can I say, it's not only your birthright, but it's also, we need you in the world. It was given to you because the world needs it, whatever it is. So you have, of course, the right to it, but we also need you. So please, let's work together to create and to find what that is so that you can shine your light in the world, because it is so it's going to be a better place when you are giving your gift out to the world.
Thank you all.